Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I should like to talk to you about metaphors. I can't believe how many people took my attack on metaphors as an attack on metaphors. I'm not attacking metaphors or the use of metaphors. And just to illustrate that point, after the whole little scuffle about metaphors, a lot of my videos had metaphors in them. You know, my philosophical beliefs were a castle of stone, and postmodernists were ghosts bouncing off the walls, and all kinds of metaphors I gave. And it's just to illustrate that you have to have meaning behind them. Now, I don't know how much clearer that point could be made by myself, so I went to a few good books on English. I actually mentioned postmodernist metaphorical thinking in my Manual Kant series, 4 of 14, reply to Zorio, pardon me, and at 7 minutes and 30 seconds I mention how postmodernist and metaphorical thinking go together, so to speak. So I noticed it quite a while ago, and the more I look at it and think about it, the more I realize it's just an essential part of their doublespeak. It's absolutely indispensable. They can't get out of bed without metaphors, because everything they say depends on the non-concrete, the floating way of speaking. Incidentally, listen to anybody, anytime, talk about any of the modern artists, and I mean Picasso and Manet and Monet, Kandinsky and everybody else that you would, I'm sure, remind me of, and they will talk in metaphors. I accidentally got this DVD called Francis Bacon, and it's an artist in the 20th century, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I was thinking Bacon from when, the 1400s, and I got Bacon, the 20th century British artist, and they interview him about his opinion of some certain artworks, and he says it doesn't work for me, or you know, it just lights up, or whatever. He says stupid crap. Okay, so here we are in Strunk and White, William Strunk Jr., S-T-R-U-N-K, and E.B. White, The Elements of Style. I looked it up, metaphor, in here, and it gave me figures of speech, and it gave me a paragraph. We'll just take a paragraph. Use figures of speech sparingly, right? Don't just build your whole case on them. The simile is a common device and a useful one, but similes coming in rapid fire, one on top of another, are more distracting than illuminating. It doesn't say why, but that's because you have to concretize your thought. It's meaningless to have a whole bunch of stuff one on another that's not concretized. The reader needs time to catch his breath. There's a metaphor. He can't be expected to compare everything with something else with no relief in sight. When you use metaphor, do not mix it up. That is, don't start by calling something a swordfish and end by calling it an hourglass. That's all they have to say. I mean, you know, it's a short book, so you can't expect them to say much. It's 90 pages. Next, we go to Higher Lessons in English. Higher Lessons in English by Reed and Kellogg. Charles Merrill Company, 1909. Now, I just purchased this book on the internet randomly. I gave this advice in a couple of my videos. I said, go get an old book published before 1950, I said. So I published, I purchased some books published before 1920 and before 1905. This is one of the early ones, and I had to rebind it, and you see glossy tape everywhere, and it was just in bad shape, but it cost $1 or $2, and it is a gold mine. So we go now to page 187 in a section called the sentence and the paragraph. Comparisons frequently made by as and like are called similes. If we leave out like and say guinea fowls are fretting housewives, we have a figure of speech called metaphor. So if we say it's like a housewife, it's a simile. If we say is a housewife, then it's a metaphor. That's how much difference there is between them. I see people every once in a while say metaphor and simile, and they use them as synonyms, and it doesn't seem that very many people know the difference, even though it was sort of drilled into us, wasn't it? That's sort of the only frickin' message they gave us when we were in grammar school. This is a metaphor, this is a simile, this is what irony is. Don't use run-on sentences, make sure to break your paragraphs, don't use when you're speaking. You know, useless stuff. And then we get done with it all. We don't know what the hell the difference is between a simile and a metaphor. So they're basically the same. One is saying something is that, and the other one's saying it's like that. This figure is used above when flocks are called squadrons and fleets. It's talking about birds, and above, and that's the example. Squadron and fleet, flock of bird, har har, you know. So here we go to page 386 now. Imagery, figures of speech. Figures of speech are those expressions in which, departing from our ordinary manner in speaking of things, we assert or assume any of these notable relations. The first great service of imagery is to the thought. It makes the thought clearer and stronger. Now, it should make the thought clearer and stronger. The first great service of imagery to thought should be, but it doesn't necessarily make it clearer and stronger. It did in 1909 probably. Imagery adds beauty to a style. A diamond brooch may adorn as well as do duty to the dress. So it doesn't concretize any better than just giving us a metaphor, but that's fine. A simile, or a comparison, is a figure of speech in which we point out or assert a likeness between things otherwise unlike, as the gloom of despondency hung like a cloud over the land. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which, assuming the likeness between two things, we bring over and apply to one of them the term that denotes the other. That's good for higher lessons in English. Read in Kellogg. Writing and Thinking by Forster and Steadman. Now, Strunk and White and this Forster and Steadman bit here were both purchased on the authority or recommendation of Lisa Van Dam. I purchased them because she says they are good sources to use in her school, and Leonard Peikoff mentions Forster and Steadman as a good textbook. So that's why I got these. Okay, page 400, in a section called Clearness, being clear, mixed or inappropriate figures. Do not use confused, unsustained, or inappropriate figures of speech. If you use a metaphor, choose one that is consistent and appropriate, and do not shift to another. An excellent example of mixed figures is given by Ernst Weekly, who quotes an Irish journalist's statement. Quote, get this, "This washing of dirty linen by those who govern only tends to undermine the ship of state in a country which has so lately passed through the fires of sedition." So he goes from washing dirty linen as a metaphor by the governors to this nation is a ship of state which has lately passed through the fires of sedition. Okay. How about a tornado of sedition or something like that? It's a ship of state. But then what the hell's the laundry? Who knows? What are we doing with that? So avoid mixed figures. Now, it's bad enough to mix your figures up. You can at least apply all those, and you say, well, he's talking about Ireland and saying the government's bad and they've just come through, you know, a revolt or whatever, some problems. You can concretize that. But what about the people who just switch from metaphor to metaphor and none of them can ever be concretized, let alone the whole group of it? Avoid mixed figures. Here are two wrong examples, two examples of what not to do. He is saving his nest egg and laying it up for a rainy day. Now that doesn't seem too bad, but they offer it as an obvious example. Then, to Tennyson, Hallam was a guiding light upon whom he could lean for support. So you picture this guy leaning on this light for support. Not good. Next example. An undergraduate once